Asteroids for the original Nintendo Game Boy, released in 1991 by Accolade and developed by the Code Monkeys. Under normal circumstances, I'd go into a brief spiel about how this was an enhanced conversion of the 1979 Atari arcade game of the same name, where you control a little triangle and have to clear the screen of space rocks while avoiding their deadly touch, as well as deadly UFOs shooting their deadly projectiles of death. And that's relatively true here, but more than anything, this Game Boy conversion of Asteroids takes inspiration from the rather excellent Atari 7800 version. You know, the one with the two-player simultaneous gameplay and the detailed asteroids with smooth animation and surface craters? No, of course you don't know that one. You don't know anything. You suck. I'm sorry, that was the cold speaking. Or was it? But I digress. Now, the main premise of Asteroids, for those of you too young to remember Asteroids, in which case you're going to burn in hell, but in any event, the idea behind Asteroid is that you're in a spaceship surrounded by asteroids, and you basically have to clear the screen of said asteroids by blowing them into bits, right down to their tiniest and speediest forms. On occasion, UFOs will fly by and attempt to kill you, but you can return the favor for bonus points. Once you clear the screen of asteroids, it's on to the next wave where more asteroids await, and it just gets harder from there, as per the case with any video game, to be honest with you. As I alluded to, this version of Asteroids seemed less based on the vector-based arcade original and more on the Atari 7800 version of the game. The obvious clue seems to come from the rotating asteroids, but there's also the various two-player modes, which involves either simultaneous competition or team play. Of course, to take advantage of these modes requires the use of a game link and a second set of Game Boy and cartridge, so you'll most likely never use this unless you know someone with their own copy of the game. Asteroids also sports skill select, with 1 space rock being easy, 2 space rocks being medium, and 3 space rocks being difficult. Sound-wise, not much to say. It's alright. They added a couple annoying jingles when you clear a level, but that's about it. All in all, sound-wise, it's alright. I got little to say in that regard. Despite the aesthetical changes made to the game, Asteroids still plays very much like its arcade inspiration. You rotate your ship around with a D-pad, pressing up will operate your thrusters that allows you to move about, the B button fires your main guns, and A button activates your hyperdrive, which blinks you from one spot to the next, doubling as both an effective means of escape and a road to an early suicide. Regardless, control is quite responsive and works really well here. Plays just about as well as any version of Asteroids I've come across, although this Game Boy version does suffer from brief bouts of slowdown, which is admittedly something of an annoyance, but never to the point where it effectively cripples the game. At best, it plays the part fairly well for the most part. Some technical things I've noticed about this version of Asteroids, because it does happen every so often that I noticed some technical things, as rare as it may be. Animation-wise, the asteroids spin rather smoothly at random speeds and they look really good in this regard. However, everything else tends to have something of a choppy feel to it. Sprite-wise, everything looks fine. Your redesigned spaceship and the enemy alien ships that fly by to attack you are well rendered, but rotation of your ship isn't as smooth. It just sort of shifts from one frame to another as you're turning, but this is just in regards to turning. When it comes to movement, your ship moves just fine and controls adequately enough. It moves smoothly. Everything but weapons fire moves smoothly. Fired shots don't fly by smoothly. They have this sort of staggered motion, almost as if you're playing one of those cheapo LCD electronic games. Very off-putting in this regard, especially since everything seems to move about as smoothly and somewhat naturally. Still, in spite of these minor issues, Asteroids received a fairly solid treatment on the Game Boy. No doubt the first of many, of course. And while circumstances may be slim that you might not be able to try out any of the two-player modes due to the game linking thing, in which case I suggest tracking down the Atari 7800 version, which is pretty much the same game on a home platform. And it's really good, by the way. But this version of Asteroids is still a superb rendition of the classic arcade game and an overall good offering that makes for a good time waster. All in all, Asteroids is good, clean, rock-busting fun.